You know what 420 is, right?
Yeah. It's code for adults who still watch cartoons.
Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original.
Meta commentary on cliches and tropes doesn't make you funny or smart unless you subvert them. That's the takeaway in case you don't have time to watch this. So I've actually been getting a lot of supportive comments from my review of the live-action Pinocchio movie, which I took by surprise because I actually thought I was being too nice to it just to stick out. One thing in particular that I've always wanted to change since publishing is when I complimented the lying nose growing scene for ripping off the jailbreak scene from Shrek 2, and the reason for that is because this movie is supposed to teach you to be good, and yet lying, something that is universally seen by everyone as bad in most situations, is being framed as righteous because he escapes with it. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you today about why I hate when movies, TV shows, and so on think they're being smart and relatable by constantly pointing out how cliche and stupid they're being without doing anything with this newfound self-awareness. Ladies, gentlemen, and others, I present to you what happens when you never grow out of watching Dorkly videos.
What the shit, bro?
What?
You just punched your girlfriend!
You're so smart, I'm gonna throw up. Hold on.
This has been bothering me for quite some time now, and I originally planned to make this video later in response to the new Little Mermaid live-action remake that's unfortunately being made as I speak. But since the Velma show is getting a lot of backlash right now, I might as well strike while the iron's hot. Oh, and by the way, my mind tuned out of the Velma controversy when I realized that it's a Scooby-Doo show with no Scooby-Doo, which I just automatically find absurd. Anyway, let's get back. So, about 20 years ago, the main trend of animated movies and TV shows was saying, hey, those cliches every other movie or show does are pretty stupid, actually. It was most likely made popularized by the rise of DreamWorks movies through their Shrek franchise. Oh my God! But it also was boosted by Disney's turn to embrace it through Enchanted, a movie that asks the question, what if a Disney princess came to the real world?
Don't sing. It's okay. You know, this is...
To be honest, it was fine for its time, but unfortunately, almost every other movie wanted to keep that energy going forever.
Were you poisoned? No. Cursed? No. Kidnapped or enslaved? No.
1,000 times no!
Especially the live-action Disney movies. And the result is bullshit like this.
Actually, it's a story that begins once upon a time. Never understood that expression. How can you be once upon a time?
You are so goddamn stupid.
Part of it is also due to the super mature mindset of thinking animated stories are just for kids, and that in order to make them appeal to adults more, we just need to make every character an unlikable, cynical piece of shit, add as many pop culture references and meta jokes as possible, and make the character designs more hideous than anything I could possibly comprehend. What makes it even worse is the fact that every live-action Disney remake thinks that doing this will make their original product better somehow, as if the original movies were flawed in some way. And in some situations, that may definitely be the case, but they never usually address those things. They usually just paint over it with, oh my god, is Belle developing Stockholm Syndrome? That's so funny! Will you please believe I am smart now? Hell, I even made it a point in my last movie review that you can't please everyone watching your story, and that was part of the reason why people wanted to do this so bad, is because you're like, oh, well, you can't hate me if I hate myself first! Haha! Take that, CinemaSins! And if you watched my last video, you'll know that I hate that mindset, because you can't fucking please everyone. No matter what you do, okay, you get the point. I already made it in my last video, and honestly, I stand by that because it's true. And the fact that all of these movies and shows try to appeal to every single person who may watch it in the worst possible way pisses me off for those reasons. Oh, and you know what? I'm gonna take a minute to talk about why I hate Dorkly, and, yeah.
Oh no! I'm so fresh, you can suck my nuts. I'm so fresh, you can suck my nuts.
They're probably fine if you watch, like, the first couple ones when you're, like, a 13-year-old, but then once you realize that's their entire sense of humor and that that's every fucking video they make, they really grow stale. I don't know, I don't really mind the fact that they emulate the style of the game that they're making fun of with their videos, like when they have, like, the sprite work. But what annoys me is that they just make every single joke that you could possibly make on your own. There is no joke that Dorkly makes in their Mario videos or their Sonic videos or their Pokemon videos or anything else. There is no joke they could make that your stupid friend who loves pointing out every tiny detail ever couldn't make on their own. And that's just what ruins it. They also just come from the cynical time period where thinking basically any story is good is dumb. It's mostly a teenage mindset of just wanting to rebel against stuff, and there are things worth rebelling against, but the thing is, you're not making a story better by constantly going, oh my god, every single thing about it is so unrealistic, guys, I'm so smart. Let me just take, for example, one Dorkly video off the top of my mind that really gets under my skin. Why Yoshi isn't allowed inside Bowser's castle. So the whole joke of the video is that oh my god, Mario treats Yoshi so terribly even though he fucking risked his life to save him and his brother as a baby, and the reason Mario has for keeping him outside is because he doesn't want him shitting inside the castle that he doesn't even own. What? In what world does that make sense? I mean, there's a few jokes that are kind of funny. Look, I'm not black and white about this.
You're not even house trained yet. I'm the one who has to pay if you take a Luigi on the carpet.
Oh, well, excuse me for... A Luigi?
You know, number 2.
You did it. Good job. I can't believe it. I'm proud of you.
Okay, the real reason that Yoshi isn't allowed inside the castle... they don't need to explain it. The reason they don't have it is because the game programmers thought it would be way too easy to have Yoshi be able to be playable inside the castle levels. That's why. Another thing is that they, for some reason, think jokes don't get old, ever. If I hear one more fucking Dorkly video make a joke about how Mario's such a jerk because he jumps off Yoshi's back and kills him, even though there is literally no level in any Mario game that requires you to jump off of Yoshi's back in order to continue.
Oh, what do we have here?
I swear to God, I'm gonna
It is so maddening that people think that is actually a good point to make. Or every time they make Mario out to be an unreasonable brother just for no reason whatsoever.
What about I fry us up with some eggs?
Or how they're oh man, Mario's a shitty boyfriend to Peach. You can tell I'm a huge Mario fan by how mad I'm getting about this, but I bet you there's probably some Dorkly video about how Mario's actually a murderer and therefore the true villain of his story because the mushroom people were turned into blocks and Mario breaks the blocks. Oh my god, I blew your mind. It's oh my fucking god. Can you, is your goal to try and annoy as many people as possible? Or how about their abominable video called fucking Zelda's boyfriend, where the joke is that Link goes through an entire quest to save Zelda and possibly get with her, only to find out that she has a boyfriend and he's an asshole.
Hey, thanks a lot, buddy. That was real nice of you, fighting off all that evil out of the goodness of your heart.
I wouldn't say I did it purely out of the goodness of my heart.
Oh, I see.
I have been nothing but a good guy to her, and then you show up only to try and foil my plans.
Man, I work so hard, and yet you fucking choose some random asshole over a nice guy like me. Oh my god. I'm laughing not because it's funny, but because Dorkly... Or how about, oh hey, let's make fun of Sonic's failed game career for the upteen billionth time. That hasn't gotten old, right? Right? God, we're so original. Now will you please believe I am an interesting person? It's just hey, if you're a Dorkly fan or a Dorkly producer or something, do you ever get tired of making the same fucking jokes every single day? Does it ever put you closer to death? Or do you just take complete pride in saying and just spoon feeding people the same things over and over and over again? I mean, yes, those are things you can definitely point out. And yeah, and the thing is, I just hate this idea that just because something's not quote unquote realistic, that it's automatically bad and dumb and just for kids and you can't enjoy it and you're stupid if you do, blah blah blah. I'm smart, like me. Like, that's the entire mindset, and I hate that, because some of the best movies and shows ever are made for kids, or made for everyone, not just adults. And now let me explain the positive side of meta commentary. Just because a lot of meta commentary is done poorly doesn't mean that it can't be good, of course. Let's take my favorite fucking kids show, or probably one of my favorite shows of all time, Gravity Falls, for example. It's one of the few shows I can think of off the top of my head that actually does it right. Not only is the humor... the humor... Sorry. Anyway, not only is the humor fast-paced, so the jokes don't overstay their welcome, but whenever they do mock a trope or cliche, they then, surprisingly, do something different with it. Take, for example, the 7th episode of Season 1, Double Dipper. The clone cliche usually has the clone or clones try to take over the life of their original counterpart, mostly just because they can. But in this episode, Dipper's clones don't intend to betray him. They knew their purpose from the start and were perfectly willing to stick with it. But then Dipper Classic went against the plan by saying, screw that, I'm gonna talk to her like she isn't a hot trophy I want to bang. This is how you make meta commentary work, by using your awareness of your cliches to change the direction of the story. One of my favorite movies ever, the Lego Movie, does this greatly as well. They take a super generic concept of the chosen one, ooh, and then make him the most generic cardboard cutout of a faceless nobody, and even then, the whole point of the movie is that there is no chosen one, because everyone has the potential to be special. Now it's time to come clean. This movie was a turning point in my life of watching movies. When I watched it originally, I was going through an incredibly cringy edgelord phase where I constantly thought mocking everything and not taking any stories seriously made me smart. I watched CinemaSins, College Humor, Dorkly, and so on, so I developed a mindset that in order to be taken seriously as an adult, I needed to be cynical and jaded against stories in general. But watching the Lego Movie, and also the equally as great Lego Movie 2, and Gravity Falls, and many of these other movies that have made me wake up, they made me realize that just being cliche doesn't make a story bad as long as it's written well. I learned that
you don't have to be the bad guy.
You see, the prophecy is made up, but it's also true, because it's about all of us. And right now, it's about you. And you still can change everything. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and please like and share and subscribe. You're probably not going to do that because we're not popular enough for that, but whatever the case, I hope you learned something, and I hope you have a great day.